And I don't just mean beating inflation very well and getting wealthy, because that's just outrunning inflation on the treadmill. At the end of the day, your net worth is losing anywhere from 3% to 15 to 20% a year based on the government statistics or the trueflation statistics, which post pandemic looked like it was about 15% a year. The rest of the decade, we don't know where that's going, but we know that the debt is continually going up. They're continually raising the debt ceiling, and the Fed and the commercial banks are going to continually print more money. And at some point, there's probably going to be a problem. We could see a lot higher inflation this decade. Also, like many other countries experienced over the last 100 years, there's a potential for hyperinflation. I don't think it's a high potential, but it's certainly a potential. And so just doing well in business and investing and beating that inflation per year can get you very far, but you are not really making the money game work for you to where you would actually prefer the central banking fiat system to another hard money system based by Bitcoin or by gold that a lot of the libertarians would prefer to return to. Um, Ideally, they would prefer without the central bank and without a sort of a usury based, inflation based system, which I think is quite unlikely to happen. Although you are seeing countries like El Salvador use Bitcoin as a currency. You can also spend it for certain things in Panama. We could see some countries that potentially try a hard money system. But I would say that it's probably going to be a real problem for them, uh, to try and step out of the central banking system. But at the end of the day, we've got to play the game that we have. If that's the game, then the focus would be on maximizing how to win in that game. As for now, the current game is the central banking fiat system, and it doesn't do you any help to fight against it or rail against it or wish it were different. At the end of the day, that's outside of our control, and we need to play the game that's in front of us and play the cards the way that they're dealt. And so I'm talking about making the money game not just beat inflation, but work for you. A true player doesn't do well um, at the game. He takes it to the next level and makes the game work for him. So to do so, you need to understand the game and you need to understand how money's created. So according to Richard Werner, who you should really study, 97% of the money supply is currently created by commercial banks in the form of credit, not the Fed. Fed only creates about 3%. Fed also creates money in the form of credit. And Richard Werner has done this study with a London bank where he took out a $200,000 loan and got into the back end and saw exactly how it was created with their permission. And it is created purely through an accounting entry. It is not, as most people think, a transfer from someone else's funds to your loan, where they're loaning out customers' deposits to you to fund your loan. It does not work that way. The way that it works is they directly create money by giving you that loan. It is not any type of transfer. Now, yes, their reserve requirements to be able to issue a loan are based on the deposits they have. That's true. But the customer's deposit is not just loaned out to all these different people. It's not you're not receiving 200,000 in a loan from someone's deposit being temporarily transferred to you. No, that's not the case. They create it out of nothing. The Fed creates a loan, they issue that to the government at interest, then the government sells that loan to the greater population in the form of bonds, or they issue it sometimes in stimulus checks, or it's going towards welfare or things of that nature. But at the end of the day, the money is created as debt, and it is created out of nothing. And the bulk of it is by the commercial banks. Most people think it's the Fed. It's not. It's the commercial banks. And credit is money. It is a debt-based system. Credit is money. Okay. So when you go into the bank and get $200,000, they're creating that for you. And that $200,000 loan is now in the circulation of the money supply. And that 200,000 did not exist until you came in and got it created for you. Prior to you, there was no money. After you, it is now in circulation. And without getting credit, the best you can do is get other people to give you money, either legally through salesmanship, that's all a business is, or OnlyFans, that's salesmanship, seeking, that's girls doing salesmanship, or illegally, which is through force, by violent means, which obviously is illegal and unethical. But you cannot get the game to create money for you unless you are getting a loan, because money is debt. That is the only time new money is being created. So as long as you are not utilizing debt, the best you can do is get other people to give you money, which, as you know, as an entrepreneur, can be quite difficult. Now, I'm not telling you to get personal debt. Personal debt for consumption is complete trash. It's great to have as much personal credit as you can get as a last resort and to build your credit profile, which allows you to get business credit. But buying lifestyle goods and services on personal debt is dumb. If you need debt to fund your lifestyle, it means you're probably never going to get out of it unless you go super hard on your income. But if you're going super hard on your income, you wouldn't needed a bunch of personal debt to pay for your lifestyle. It's a lack of discipline as well that shows that you spend more than you make. And most people that get into personal debt are never, ever getting out. Personal debt is terrible unless it is just unutilized credit that you're using for building your profile to get more business credit, or in case of a last resort. Corporate debt, on the other hand, I've come to realize, I've had a major revelation, in a limited liability company is fantastic. It is how everyone got rich, and if you're not utilizing it, you are not playing the game to your full advantage. You're not making the system work for you, and most importantly, you are not in a place where you would actually prefer this system.